Alright everyone, welcome back to some more of a Requiem for Innocence. I want to thank you guys for all the love and support you continue to show this series. You guys are the best, so thank you so much. So right now we're up to a point where we are doing interludes actually. So we just finished half of the main story, or part 1 of a Requiem. So now we're like pretty much learning about Jaren's past, a little bit of how she came to be in the from her home life and finally coming into the Lord's life. It's something, guys. But if anything, we're gonna just continue on from there and see how it goes. So I hope you all continue to enjoy watching, and let's do this. Alright guys, and we are back. Kick back for a bit, why don't you? I'm in the mood to talk. Nah, I'm not gonna charge extra. I don't bill by the hour. Oh, you never thought of me as a talkative girl? I guess that just goes to show how much I've taken to you. No, I'm not trying to butter you up, I swear. I've been thinking a lot these days about the place I last worked at, and it's really been getting me down. I can't think of anyone I want with me at times like this more than you. Did something happen there? Heh, I've been waiting for that question. It's a bit of a long story, I hope you don't mind. Well, I've been pretty much going through long stories with you guys, so yeah, I really don't. There's a city about 10 days by carriage from here, you know the one, right at the Lord Barnier's doorstep. The place I used to work was there, and every so often the Lord would summon a few of the prettiest girls to come to his manor. I'm hardly the best looking girl around, and even out here, so I was never one of the chosen. But honestly, I'm lucky for it. It's not the kind of thing you want to go mentioning in public, but the Lord has some, unsavory hobbies. Every girl who ever came back said there's no amount of money you can pay me to do that again. Word is, the Lord has a taste for torturing and killing his slaves. Not just if you screw up either. If he's in the mood and he so much as sees you, you could be dead. He's got a dungeon under his manor too, they say, and you can hear wailing coming from down there at all times of the day. The Lord enjoys all different kinds of torture. Flaying, dismemberment, boiling the water cure. I'm sure he uses others, but I've only heard bits and pieces secondhand. He only ever killed the slaves though. The girls all came back in one piece. On the outside at least. Being forced to watch people get brutally murdered did a real number on most of them. Some were so broken by the experience they couldn't work anymore. So the Lord apparently he hosts banquets at his manor every so often. But here's the kicker. He only invites nobles that are into the same sort of thing. He's not the only one. We're being governed by God knows how many twisted freaks. I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, something like 2 years ago I think it was. A couple of girls came back looking a good 20 years older, and they told us about one of these banquets. Most of the time it's just him and his noble friends torturing slaves, but this one was different. There was a girl, maybe 10 years old, chained up naked on his makeshift altar, but here's where it gets crazy. The girl, who they called a saint, was covered in scars head to toe. They cut her up and filled their cups with her fresh blood. But she didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. She just sat there quietly. And when she did speak, it was to condemn them as blasphemers and sinners. Can you imagine? Chained up like that and she's scolding her captors, telling them God will punish them for their actions? I wouldn't have the guts. Maybe she was raised at a church or something. But I'm guessing that's got something to do with why they called her a saint. Oh yeah, the slave revolt was right around that time too. You hear about that? Just rumors. Well, they're not just rumors, it really happened. Because of the revolt, the girls who'd been there made it out mostly in decent shape. And for a while afterwards, the Lord didn't send for anyone. I'm guessing he was too preoccupied patching up the holes in his manor and finances to spend much time fooling around. Sort of changing topics for a sec, but about that same time, this dark-skinned girl, the kind you don't see too often around these parts, started working here. Her name was Jaren. She was pretty, always had the wildest smile on her face, and real friendly. Seemed like the kind of girl who'd draw in a lot of business. And I was right. Within a couple of weeks she had already picked up a few regulars, and our manager was going on about how happy he was with his purchase. About a month in though, we started getting complaints from one of her customers. He said she was being condescending with him. I brought it up with Jaren, but she said she had no idea what he was talking about. So I assumed the customer was just imagining it or full of it. You get guys like that all the time in this business. No, don't worry, you're not one of them. But the complaints kept coming in, which made me think maybe there was something going on. So I decided to talk things out with the guys making the complaints this time, get a better picture of what the problem was. Most of them were pretty useless and vague, but the common issue seemed to be that her behavior didn't make sense. One guy came in after bungling a huge trade deal, hoping to find some comfort, and he spilled his guts to Jaren. But instead of trying to console him, she laughed. You can see why he wouldn't be thrilled about that. When I asked Jaren about it, she gave me a confused look and said, I thought he was telling a funny joke. There was no malice, nothing. She genuinely didn't understand how the customers wanted her to act. Can't run a business like this without a solid customer base, so making sure everyone leaves happy is crucial to operation. Which is probably not something I should be talking about with a customer, but, well, you're special, so cut me some slack, okay? Anyway, something had to be done about Jaren. We couldn't risk more dissatisfied customers, so I figured the best thing to do was give her some training. Here's how you should react if a client brings up such and such, and here's what you should say if they're looking depressed or upset or whatever. How and when to be reactive and how and when to be proactive. Jaren was a quick study, so it wasn't long before she was putting my lessons to work. I would have been happy with just reducing the number of complaints to a more normal level, but Jaren improved so dramatically we heard nothing but praise from then on. Say a patient was looking a little blue, she'd give them a big pouty face and say, What's the matter? You can tell me anything. Oh no, that's terrible. I feel awful for you. Is there anything I can do to help? Anything at all? Just this constant stream of comfort, almost to the point of being excessive. She had gone from bright and energetic to sweet and sympathetic as well. On the surface anyway. Every condolence she offered was completely fake. She was acting, and I knew, because I was the one who had taught her how. There was nothing wrong with that though. We're not in the business of genuine human interaction after all. Thinking back on it now though, I probably should have taught her what the real thing felt like rather than just how to fake it. About a year later, the Lord started sending for girls again. We all knew he was a madman, that was common knowledge. But he paid well, and everyone always came back alive, so we reluctantly complied. But we were wrong. He did kill the girls this time. One came back alive, but she was missing an eye and half an arm. She was in no condition to go back to work. Even just going about her daily life would be difficult. We were aghast, but things only got worse from there. The next time the Lord sent for us, we panicked. For one, no amount of money was worth what waited at the Lord's manor, and two, it was impossible to run a business if your employees kept getting killed. So we attempted to turn him away. But his messenger simply said, The Lord will not take no for an answer. We either complied or were all executed for treason. What little hope we had left crumbled. We were screwed either way. So we fought among ourselves like a pack of wild animals. I'm too ugly, you go. I have more regulars, you go. No one likes you anyway. Pure chaos. I was, of course, part of the brawl. And here's where she comes in, Jaren. Everyone's in a big mob, clawing each other's faces off, and she just tilts her head and asks, Why are you so afraid of the Lord? Seeing that stupid, clueless look on her face, just about everyone in the room burst a vessel. Alright, we'll send her, we said, and it was decided. Jaren smiled, not bothered in the slightest, gave us a cheery see you later, and went out to the Lord's manor. To no one's surprise, she never came back. We figured she had been killed. A week or so later, the messenger showed up again asking for more girls. By this point, the manager was furious. He demanded to speak with the Lord in person, saying if something wasn't done, the whole brothel would collapse, and he'd put his life on the line to prevent that. Seeing him so resolute, I felt a newfound respect for him. I also thought he was a complete idiot, but I still respected him. After all, there was no way the Lord would be open to negotiation. That much was obvious from everything he'd done. The manager and a few assistants set off for the Lord's manor, and about 2 weeks later he returned. Or, his head did. His assistants managed to avoid death, so they were able to tell us what had happened. No one was exactly thrilled to hear more twisted tales about the Lord, but we listened anyway, and no one could have imagined what they told us. Jaren was there with the Lord, alive and well. Not only had she not been killed, he had apparently taken quite a liking to her. The manager was surprised to see her too, but he figured it was as good a chance as he would ever get. If Jaren would speak up in his favor, the Lord might actually listen to her. So emboldened, the manager pleaded with the Lord, begging him not to harm the girls, that we wouldn't be able to send anyone else otherwise. And for attempting to oppose him, the Lord ordered the manager be executed. The manager, however, entreated Jaren for help. If you have a heart, Jaren, please, tell the Lord not to take my life. I have people who need me. Without hesitation, Jaren nodded, saying, You think you could maybe let him live? That seems a bit, disrespectful for a whore to speak to the Lord like that, but he didn't get upset with her or anything. He really had taken a liking to her, apparently. The Lord nodded and said, I'll offer you a choice then. Jaren, you may have whichever one of the following you prefer. Either I spare this man's life, or you can have my full attention for the rest of the day. The manager and his assistants were all baffled. How was that even a decision? How was a man's life, a man who had employed her for more than a year, no less comparable to a little attention? But they were even more baffled by Jaren's reaction. She thought about it for a second, and then blushing, she said, I want your attention. Everyone's jaws dropped. The manager about burst into tears. He begged her to reconsider, to have pity. He asked what he had ever done to wrong her. You never did me wrong, she said. Then why won't you have him spare me? I just wanted his attention more. And you're willing to let me die for that? What's so scary about dying anyway? Not only did she not comprehend sorrow, she seemed to be devoid of anything resembling fear as well. Which explained why she had so much trouble sympathizing with people's suffering. Why she was always smiling no matter how bad things got. Without our manager, the brothel went to hell. His son took over, but he didn't give a damn about any of the girls. All he cared about was if he had enough booze to keep himself perpetually smashed. So figuring I had a better chance elsewhere, I left everything behind and ran, leaving my future in fate's hands. Fate was kind to me, and I managed to make it here. They come to me in my dreams sometimes, though. I still see the faces of the poor girls we sent off to the gallows. What? Where am I again? Awake again, are you, whore? Who are you, sir? It would seem your memories have not fully recovered. Allow me to remind you of how you got here, then. No, wait. It's right on the tip of my brain. Let's see. I was at the brothel, and then I was invited to the Lord's place. I got brought to a big city. Then I was taken to the Lord's castle. The Lord called me into his room, and then he strangled me? Hold on, I missed that part. Oh, you strangled me. Indeed. Your memory has returned without problem. I'm super duper good at remembering things. Wait! Why'd you strangle me? To test my theory. Your theory? Of what? That you're mad. Mad? About what? Not that kind of mad. First of all, I never bring just one whore to my quarters. I brought you here because you piqued my personal curiosity. You mean you're having orgies in here every day? Wowzers, you got some serious stamina. Not being alone with one person reduces the chances of an assassination attempt. That makes sense. It's pretty tough being the Lord, huh? So what, you're curious about little old me for? The other day, you had a handful of other whores attended the torturing of a slave, if you recall. I made you all watch as he died. But you didn't seem affected in the slightest. Crap, I'm so sorry. For what? I wasn't sad enough, was I? The nice farm lady and the girl at the brothel taught me how to be sad and how to be angry. But if I'm not careful, I forget. I'm so sorry for not being sad like I was supposed to. As I said, you piqued my interest. Had you sobbed and screamed like any other whore, we wouldn't be having this conversation. What? So me not being sad wasn't bad? That it wasn't. Huh. No one's ever said that to me before. I always thought you unusual, but I couldn't be certain about what you were without getting more personal, which is why I brought you here to test that theory. You don't fear death, do you, whore? It's not just death. I've never felt sad or scared about anything ever. I didn't even know sad or scared were things people felt at all until someone told me. But now I know all about them and how you're supposed to act when you feel them. I just don't know what they actually are. Truly fascinating. Tell me more. Huh? What do you want to know? Let's see. Tell me your whole life story. Tell me everything as far back as you remember. Wow. No one's ever been this interested in me. This is super nice. Alrighty then, I'll tell you everything. Don't hesitate to conk out if you get bored. And ta-da, here I am. What'd you think? As boring as I thought it'd be? Hardly. That was easily the most engrossing childhood story I've ever heard. Woohoo! Smiling as your parents are killed before your eyes. I'm hardly one to talk, but you're one thoroughly heartless girl. I still wish I could do that over. I really love my mom and dad, and the nice farm lady taught me you're supposed to be sad when people you love die. That's why you want a do-over? What? You're incapable of experiencing sorrow, no? Feigning it for the occasion won't change the fact you don't actually feel sad about losing them. I guess you're right. I can pretend, but I still don't know what it feels like. I don't understand why people are so afraid of death to begin with. I mean, pain isn't fun, I get that much. But if you don't let it bother you, it's not that big of a deal. Plus, once you die, you get to go to heaven. So I don't get what there is to be so afraid of. Not everyone goes to heaven. Oh, that's right. But still, I'm sure there are plenty of fun things to do in hell. Wow. Fascinating. You truly are twisted to your very soul. Oh, but I do sometimes feel disappointed. Do tell. Like, I sometimes wish I could eat my mom's supper again. And I feel left out when everyone's talking about how weird I am. Maybe sad is just like an even stronger version of that. I get the impression your entire experience of negative emotion is fundamentally distorted, so I don't know if you can say that. Jaren. Aye. Would you like to remain with me? What? Normally, I send whores back to where they came from when I'm done with them. But I'm offering you a chance to stay here with me. Are you asking for my hand in marriage? What do I do? What do I do? I went from whore to a lord's wife in 3 seconds flat. Fool. I never even take a mere prostitute as a concubine. Drat. I am, however, fond of you, so I am offering you a place in my house. So, you're saying you actually want me around? Even knowing what kind of person I really am? You could say that, yes. Wow, no one's ever actually wanted me before. As promised, Jaren, you have my full attention for the rest of the day. Whee! Honestly, it shouldn't surprise me anymore how twisted you are. Twisted so far, in fact, you're the most sincere and honest person in the land to a fault. You hardly even gave that man's life a second thought. The look on his face as he died was magnificent. You are a cruel girl. I didn't do anything wrong, no matter what you say. I didn't steal anything. I didn't kill anyone. I try to stay out of everyone's way as much as possible. So you actually have some concept of right and wrong, which means you understand that I am a wicked man. I was taught the difference, yes. Fascinating. However, simply knowing the difference is of no use, if you don't feel the repulsion it's supposed to elicit. Knowing full well that I was acting maliciously, you selfishly chose my affection, sentencing that man to death. That's not what No. I guess you're right. I guess I did let him die for my own selfish desires. Looks like I still got a lot to learn. No, you stay exactly the way you are. As I said before, you don't need to put up a facade around me. Don't act sad if you're not sad. Don't act angry if you're not angry. Don't feign pity for someone you don't care about. Be you. But everyone says your natural self neither disgusts nor disturbs me. In fact, I greatly prefer you that way. No matter how many slaves I kill and torture for my own entertainment, you never leave my side. You happily accept me no matter what I do. I would rather not lose that. Don't stand so far away. Sit down beside me. I have allowed you to stay here for a month now, and in that time you've been a constant source of entertainment. And you've expressed no desire to leave either, despite being well aware what kind of man I am. The same goes for you, Barney, eh? You want me to stay even though I'm such a weirdo. The difference between you and I, though, is that I kill and you do not. You know, I've been wondering. What? Why do you like killing so much? It would seem your perception of me is slightly inaccurate. It is not the act of killing I enjoy, but the look of dread and despair on a man's face as his life is ripped away. There's a difference? In your mind, perhaps not. I'd kinda like to know what it's like in your mind then. I told you my story. Maybe you could tell me more about you, Barney, eh? Not that I blame you if you don't want to tell a prostitute like me. You're not a prostitute anymore. I'm not? Then, what am I? You're my My property. Ooh, that sounds super nice. So, to answer your question, I was not always the man I am today. I had several brothers, though I was the eldest. As such, I was first in line of succession. There should have been no question as to who was the rightful heir to the house. But my father, the previous lord, wanted my brothers to succeed him instead. Without any reason to pass over me, though, he would have faced a significant opposition and put the family's reputation and legitimacy at risk. I was neither infirm nor mentally challenged, but rather extremely talented, which gave my father no leverage to deny me the throne. The one thing I lacked was sycophancy. Seeing people try to butter each other up made me physically sick. It seemed to me the last kind of behavior royalty should be engaging in. I believe that merely possessing leadership ability should be sufficient for ruling effectively. But in this world, only those who can win others' favor make it anywhere. Only those who can make themselves look good and their peers like fools. Those who can claim others' achievements as their own, who can appear to have more power than they actually do. My father and brothers forsook me, making an attempt on my life. Because they could not legitimately remove me as the rightful heir. They could only kill me if they wanted their way. I was fortunate enough to survive the attempt, but I still carry the scar today. You mean the begin on your back? That's right. You're surprisingly observant. I was in danger of not just losing the lordship, but my life. I was left with 3 choices. To let them kill me, to flee and live in poverty, or to kill them first. I was born to rule though, so in reality, I only ever had one choice. I murdered my father and all my brothers, leaving me as the only one in the line of succession. But becoming the lord did not immediately win me everyone's favor. Distant relatives crawled out of the woodwork to claim my throne as rightfully theirs. The people demanded I satisfy their every whim and fancy, and even my attendants tried to push their own agendas. The whole affair quickly grew tiring. Dozens were clamoring for a say in matters I could easily handle myself, so I silenced them. Before long, the prodding voices had become corpses, and it was somewhere around that time that I found myself intrigued by fear. Fear is a wonderful thing, an incredibly effective silencer that spreads like a plague. Sufficient application would preemptively stop everyone from interfering. Fear strips man of all his will. When it became apparent to me that one did not have to be a great leader to rule effectively, all the time I had spent in my younger days working to improve myself felt like an incredible waste. Fear became the centerpiece of my rule, and as I continued to employ it, I began to derive great pleasure from the despair instilled in others. Men trembled at the sight of me. They bowed their heads and abandoned their dignity. They begged me to spare their lives, and what an exquisite sight it was every single time. Enrapturing. You were born into your madness, Jaren, but I was molded into mine. Huh, that's neat. But Lord Barnier, wouldn't that make me a bad match for you? I'm not scared of you at all. Man is a curious beast, you see. Once everyone feared me, I then came to seek those who did not. You sure are hard to please. Ha! You make it sound like I'm merely a picky child, though I suppose there's little difference in your eyes. There were a number of others among the nobles who had, like me, strayed from the path, hardly surprised given what life as a noble is like. So I started throwing banquets, inviting those who would be interested. These parties were to serve 2 purposes, the first, obviously, being for my own amusement. The second, to find those with similar taste and bring them into my circle. I found little success with the latter, however, despite my rather zealous attempts at recruitment, so I no longer waste the effort. You weren't able to make any friends then? No, I was not. The other nobles had no interest in getting their own hands dirty. They only wanted to watch, getting their titillation from a safe distance. Not a single one shared the same madness as me. Jaren. You are far better than any of them. What? Thanks? What are you squirming about? I thought nothing bothered you. I am capable of getting flustered, thank you. There is something deeply wrong with you. You're the one who decided to throw that curveball, Lord Barnier. Enough with the formalities already. You're not a whore anymore. You're allowed to use my name. Huh? That is your name, though. You don't know your own lord's full name, do you, Jaren? What? Answer the question, girl. I'm sorry. Allow me to help. I will only say this once, so don't forget it. My name is Jean-Francois Barnier, firstborn son and rightful heir of the Barnier family. Got it memorized. That's really a long name, though. I think I'll call you Franny. That rolls off the tongue nicer. I forgot she likes to give people nicknames. I assume I can take that cryptic chuckle as an okay. Only if you wish to be hanged. Call me Francois. She sounds so disappointed. Jaren. Get up, Jaren. I swear you spend every moment you're not otherwise occupied sleeping. I love sleeping. I said get up, you feeble-minded Nimrod. Ow! You didn't have to hit me, yeesh. There are nicer ways to wake a girl up, you know. Be grateful I only hit you hard enough to wake you. I swear the church may have to redefine sloth if they ever meet you. This bed's so comfy, though. You do realize the blood of dozens of women has seeped into every fiber? Comfy's still comfy, though. Ha! That wouldn't bother you, would it? So, what's up, Francois? You need me for something? Yes, I have a favor to ask of you. What? A favor of me? What is it? I'll do anything. Without even hearing what it is? Doesn't matter what it is. You say the word, and I'll do it, Francois. And what if I ask you to take your own life right here? Just give me the knife. Oh my gosh, this girl's so weird. And yet she's very entertaining. I should honestly be more used to this by now. Why wouldn't I do anything for you, Francois? I love you. No one's ever cared for me like you before. No one's ever wanted me as much as you. You're happy with me as I am, despite me missing all the most important pieces. Again, I really shouldn't be so surprised. Fear not, though. I won't be asking you to die today. How much harder is it going to be then? I hope you don't want me to kill anyone. It would be my first time and I'm not sure I could pull it off properly. You're at the bottom of my list of prospective assassins. You know, even throughout all this morbid conversations, there's still like some semblance of humor in here. It's crazy. I doubt you could successfully smother a baby. Although, you could probably cause a great deal of death, I imagine. I would like to make you into a mole. So you want me to dig holes? In a sense. There's been word of unrest building in the city of late. Money and resources gathered below the table. Murmurings of resistance being organized. So, a bunch of baddies. Precisely. I want you to go down to the city and try to find as many baddies as you can, then report back to me. Can you do that? I can try. Excellent. A whorehouse would be the best place for you to start gathering information, I think. All I need you to do is deliver reports. Anything more involved would probably cause the empty head of yours to burst. Aye. I just realized if I go into the city, I won't be able to see you as often, Francois. Does that displease you? A whole lot. Oh, I bet this is what being sad feels like. In your twisted mind, perhaps so. How about this? I will have a servant act as a regular client of yours. He will pretend to be a well-off merchant. At regular intervals, he will patronize the brothel, requesting your services and bringing you back to his residence. He'll pay well enough that they won't mind if you're gone for a few days, during which time you can come back to the manor and see me. How does that sound? Whee! I love it! Next, we need to discuss how you present yourself. Although you're free to be yourself in my presence, you will need to put on a suitable act down in the city. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Now I'm getting butterflies. You spent years doing precisely that before you came here. But I didn't have you counting on me to do a good job of it back then, Francois. Allow me to offer you a piece of advice then. What? Oh, hold on. That happened way too fast. I'm all ears. Freely tell others about the misfortunes of your upbringing. I don't think I had a bad childhood, though. You may not, but others will. Your parents murdered as you watched, taken captive by men who did it. Tell people your story, but don't act overly dejected. Huh? Why not? Won't people think there's something wrong if I'm not sad? People will think it's more unusual if you get too dramatic because it's so far out of line with your regular disposition. Good acting is subtle, not overdone. Ooh. People will feel great pity for you when they hear of your past. And then they will see your exuberance as a sign you fought and found the strength of will to move past your ill fortune. They will be impressed, taken with you. So you need to exaggerate your performance. Just give it a little bit of flavor. As long as you don't tell anyone those emotions are beyond your grasp, no one will have any reason to suspect otherwise. This guy is incredibly smart and manipulative. I cannot believe this guy. I thought he was just like your, I wouldn't say run-of-the-mill evil ruler, but I honestly thought he had like a one-track mind. This guy is really like, he loves to think of ways to manipulate and like torture people in like the most incredible of ways. It's stupid. All right, guy. All right, Francois. I see where you're coming from. Huh, neato. I'm feeling a lot better about this now. I expect you won't disappoint me. Aye aye, boss. So, hey, Francois. What is it? What would you do if, hypothetically speaking, if when I go down to the city, I learn what sadness and fear feel like? I would kill you because I would no longer have any interest in you. Awesome. I'm just glad you didn't say you'd kick me out. He's like, what? Every girl dreams of being killed by the man she loves. No, they do not. You want me to kill you? If it comes down to it, I guess. Though really, I'd rather be with you forever. Wow. That answers a lot, considering what just happened not that long ago when we, Into the room, Jaren, now! Alright guys, I'm gonna have to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. I cannot believe how much we learned about Jaren, or at least her recent past, as well as her bond with the Lord. That's crazy though. But we're gonna continue on and learn about it some more in the next one, guys. So thank you again.